Welcome everyone to the SmartDepart Travel Series, brought to you today by AAA Travel. My name is Diana Gugliotta, and I have the pleasure of being your host this afternoon to continue our discussion on safe travel. So from all of us here at AAA, thank you for joining. Our focus is providing our members the information that they need to ensure safety while traveling, whether they're on the road or in the air. And our hope is to provide the best guidance to give our members peace of mind for future travel planning. Today, we're focusing on air travel safety and wellness and what to expect, how to keep yourself and your loved ones safe as we get back to making travel plans again. I know I'm anxious to do that myself, but we do that by connecting you with the true experts. And I'll introduce you to those experts for today's panel shortly, but just a piece of housekeeping here. Thanks again, all the AAA members for taking the time to be with us this afternoon, and also those who submitted questions for our panelists ahead of time. We are here together. We can also type in questions to the chat. So that Q&A chat box that's on your screen, you can go ahead and do that throughout the chat. And we might not get to every single question. We will try our best, but we'll have our experts answer questions at the end of their presentations. And always remember, our AAA Travel team is standing by to assist. So if your question is a little bit tricky or extensive or doesn't get answered today, feel free, please, to reach out to your favorite travel agent. You can visit your local AAA branches, or you can go to AAA.com/travel for more information. And, I always want to remind our members that our travel agents have spent the last several months absolutely working so hard, reworking and working travel plans to ensure the best deals, to make sure they are providing the most up-to-date information in a very rapidly changing world, so that when you're ready to travel again, you can feel safe and confident doing so. So, most say travel agent, I like to call them our travel angels, because they really are working miracles. And they have worked very closely with our travel partners to make so many great things happen for them. Throughout this past summer, and we have to remind ourselves we still have a few weeks of summer left, but throughout the summer, road trips have been an easy and safe way to escape, but we are fielding a lot of questions and inquiries. There's so many members itching to expand their horizons and take to the skies again. So today we have a panel of experts representing 3 air industry representative organizations here to talk about safe travel best practices. And first, I'd like to introduce you to Huntley Lawrence. He is the Director of Aviation for the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. And God bless Mr. Lawrence. He oversees the busiest airport system in the United States, which includes JFK International, Newark Liberty International, LaGuardia, New York Stewart International, and the Teterboro Airport. So Huntley, thank you so much for being with us today. Tell me first, have you ever in your career ever had to respond to what you're dealing with right now?
Well, I would say, we've dealt with a lot of crises in our industry, and candidly, nothing like this today. We've dealt with the bombing after 9/11 and the impact in our industry, which is pretty devastating. Recession 2007, 2008, but in each case, the industry bounced back. The types of impacts we're seeing today in terms of losses of passenger traffic, the toll on individuals, passengers, customers, and employees, and then the financial impact have been just devastating for this industry. So these are truly, truly unprecedented times for our generation.
Right. So you're going to walk us through.
I am certainly going to walk you through all that we're doing today, but I want to make sure that I publicly acknowledge my co-presenters from Delta and Cathay Pacific, because look, both of these carriers have been vitally important business partners of ours for decades, and I'm happy to share the screen with you today despite our current circumstances. So you should have my slides in front of you that I'm going to take you all through. Okay.
Here they go.
So just for some quick context, you heard about the 5 airports that we handle. It's important to note that in 2019, we set an annual record for passengers of more than 140 air travelers. That is quite significant. You know, our air train systems at JFK and Newark also broke ridership records, serving tens of millions of riders. So we were really seeing a significant change and a significant uptick in traffic. But beyond our traffic of our facilities, we're focused on rebuilding our airports. And our vision is to be a world-class operator of world-class airports. And so we believe firmly that you cannot have a truly world-class facility, no matter how beautiful and new, without being a world-class operator. And you cannot be a world-class operator without world-class facilities. The past couple of years, we've been on a journey to transform our airports. And I've identified 3 pillars that are at the foundation of our strategy. And first is the investment in our airports. The Port Authority's capital program included unprecedented investment in all of our airports to make them truly world-class facilities. More than half of our agency's $34 billion capital plan was devoted to airports, plus billions of dollars more in private investment. The second thing was our New York metro region airports must deliver experiences and exceed expectations that are in line with our peers around the world. So we focus on customer experience, and it's really about treating people with respect, empathy for their needs, and thoughtfulness, of course. And the third thing is really implementing what we call 21st century governance. The Port Authority only operates directly Terminal B at Newark Airport, and because of that structure, we had essentially in the past abdicated control of other airport terminal experiences to others for far too long. So governance is really about integrating standards and accountability into all major agreements to allow us to enforce a world-class operation at every single level. So what's all wrapped up in this is really what our aspiration is, for our airports. And I think many of you are seeing the results of our aspiration as you look at, the work that's underway at LaGuardia Airport. But as much as we've been successful in our airports, the bottom fell out. March started out okay, but by the end of the month, our airports, like airports across the country and the world, turned to ghost towns. In front of you, you should see the slide showing how bad it got. On Thursday, April 14th, 2019, our 3 major airports handled just under 250,000 passengers, roughly 246,000 passengers. 1 year later, on Thursday, April 16th, 2020, the 3 airports handled a total of 3,898 passengers. So from 246,000 to less than 3,900 passengers, that's a drop off of 99%. So for us, that financial impact has been like a gut punch, unlike any other that we've experienced as an industry, and certainly the worst, as I said, that I've ever seen in my 35 years with the agency. And yes, our industry has received significant federal aid, but as we've we've held a number of stakeholder meetings with airlines and others alike, and with all members of the airport community to better understand their challenges. But as we did that, it became clear that the financial wounds were deep, and in some cases potentially fatal. And so we offered some deferment of fees to the extent practical, and did all we could to stem some losses, but that's been just a drop in the bucket, and we expect major changes and challenges in the industry going forward, with all the kind of potential scenarios for the return of air travel, being thrown around. So there's still some significant challenges. But apart from stemming the financial losses, we had to quickly develop a response and recovery plan, really to focus on what we're going to do for passengers and what we're going to do for our facilities. So coordinating that response has been a challenge, but we felt that we were up to it and we were successful at it. The Port Authority has agreements, as I said, with airlines and private terminal operators who are responsible for running all but one of our terminals, but we needed to unify our response across these diverse entities to make our airports as safe as possible across the customer journey. For us, the non-negotiable piece was ensuring that our employees and customers stay healthy and safe and as humanly possible when they fly. Our goal as the operator of the region's airports is to win back our customers and return them better than before. And we know we can't do that unless we put health and safety before everything else. We set clear standards for safety measures and mitigations and worked with all terminal operator partners to get them quickly implemented across every airport. Now, it's not going to be an easy process to regain trust and confidence with our customers, and there are no quick fixes, but survey after survey tells us that customers are nervous and fearful about air travel and large crowds. So let me talk about what we're doing with our new safety measures and what they look like. Well, our plan is guided by 4 core principles and actioned through key enablers, the 3 of them. Again, this plan is a standard across all terminals in our system, so no matter who operates them. And the 4 principles are straightforward. Maximize hygiene, enhance cleaning, sanitizing, and disinfecting regimens have become the new normal, and both employees and customers are expected to frequently wash their hands or use hand sanitizer. Minimize contact, facilitate social distancing, and deploy new technologies and mobile applications that reduce face-to-face interactions and minimize passenger contact with touch surfaces in the terminals. And minimize access, restrict access to airport facilities, and to keep ticketed passengers and employees only inside terminals. And obviously, minimizing dwell, that's really to speed the travel journey within the air terminals from the front door to the cabin door by minimizing distractions and providing clear directions. And our 3 key enablers were really putting employees first and enabling them to deliver, communicate with our customers and stakeholders, and of course, transform the experience. And in keeping with our core principles, here's a summary of just a few of the changes you'll notice when you visit our airports now. All of these items are in place with more work to be done in the coming months. And it really starts from the top, restricting access to terminals, mandatory face coverings, vigilant cleaning, the hand sanitizers and hand wipe units, hundreds of plexiglass barriers, the touchless feedback devices, including the 600 QR codes that we've installed, and over 6,700 signs emphasizing hygiene, safety, distancing, and cleaning. But by implementing these principles and maximize the journey, we believe that we're fully reimagining the passenger journey. Now, I could sit here and explain the many steps to safety, but I'd rather show you just a little bit of a video, and so you can see exactly what's going on. So why don't we roll the video?
I think we might have been having some technical issues with the video. We are going to upload it later when we publish the webinar, though, so people can go back and watch that video independently. I'm sorry about that, Mr. Lawrence.
No, that's okay, because in principle, what you're going to see in the video is what happened from the curb to the gate when you make your way through a terminal. And going back to my last slide, it's going to focus on terminal restrictions first, ticketed passengers and employees, mandatory face coverings, and it will show you through each of the touch points exactly what customers can expect.
Great.
All right. So as we're focused on making our airports safe for everyone who passes through, we're also continuing to closely monitor and work with policy guidelines affecting movement domestically and internationally. For example, as we've successfully flattened the curve here in the tri-state area, thanks in part to the leadership of our governors. Also elsewhere in the nation, infection rates were skyrocketing. So our governors implemented a quarantine for arriving visitors earlier this summer. While the numbers change slightly every week, the states impacted by this order make up roughly 70% of our domestic arrivals, and that has slowed the increase in air travelers that we expected to see. And of course, it also adds another complex logistical operation to our airports, because our staff are supporting the New Jersey and New York Departments of Health in collecting forms and information for travelers from the affected states. But as we work to implement these safety measures, mitigations and policies, we haven't lost sight of the big picture and the long-term infrastructure needs of our region, or our commitment to really focus on developing world-class facilities. One thing I certainly can't pin on COVID-19 is that for too many years, there is too little attention paid to investment in our airports and outstanding customer experience. Today, we're living with the consequences of that, decades of underinvestments that we had with outdated terminals, deficient infrastructure, and poor customer satisfaction. But we believe we are rising to the challenge today by creating new scalable state-of-the-art terminals, expanding and enhancing capacity, and restoring all of our airports to their rightful place among the world's best. At LaGuardia, we cut the ribbon on the new head house earlier this summer, effectively delivering the first of the infrastructure for a new airport in the United States in the last 25 years. At Newark Liberty Airport, we opened, began construction last year, and we are going to be opening a new Terminal 1 in about 18 months. And we brought in MAI, the operator of the renowned Munich Airport, to operate the terminal on our behalf. And at JFK, we're working with developers to replace old terminals, unify existing ones, and to create an integrated airport complex with all the basics you need in a premier international airport. And that's going to include things like wide-body gates and dozens of new security screening lanes, plus all the luxuries and innovative touches that travelers have come to expect, like modern lounges, green spaces, children's play areas, cultural exhibits, and more. But it comes down to this. Despite the enormous challenges posed by COVID-19, my staff and I are committed, working with our stakeholders, to implementing an industry-leading resumption of service plan that puts safety above all else, so that you can feel confident to fly when you're ready. And at the same time, we're continuing to advance projects that are at the heart of our core principles: invest in world-class facilities, a focus on customer experience, and 21st century governance with our stakeholders that will ensure it all runs like a world-class operation should. Guided by these values, we're committed to getting the region flying again with the safety and exceptional experiences that you deserve and the city of New York and the states of New York and New Jersey deserve.
Tremendous. Thank you so much, Mr. Lawrence. And you've obviously given so much time and so much thought and planning, especially to that second pillar of customer experience. What just last advice, if any, would you have to a family or an individual looking to travel in and out of one of your major metropolitan airports in the coming months?
Well, I think the important thing is going to be, preparedness. So you want to know about the experience that you expect at the airport, go to our website, check out, what you can expect when you get to the airport. Airlines have done a great job in describing the experiences that customers can expect on the aircraft, including health questionnaires, focus on face mask and other personal protection. I would say, leave a little extra time to get yourself oriented when you get to the airport. The good thing is that collectively our industry, from airlines to airports, we've actually all put information together for a seamless journey, and it's available for passengers when they're ready. And we're all focused on safety. We're all focused on bringing customers back and making sure that we're keeping and putting customers first.
Great. Thank you so very much. And that's a great segue. We'll turn it over now to our next speaker, Ramsey Hamad. He is the Managing Director of Global Cleanliness Operations for Delta Airlines. So Mr. Hamad, thank you so much for being with us today. And, please just, if you're willing to share some of the ways Delta has adapted to the current state of air travel and kind of guide us through the policies and procedures that were put in place to keep your travelers safe.
Thanks, Diana, and hi, everyone. It's great to be here today, and thanks for having me. It was great to hear from Huntley. Huntley and the entire Port Authority team, they're really great partners for Delta. They've helped us through this entire journey, especially in LaGuardia and Kennedy International, where we have a strong presence. So I want, Diana, let's go through this. We have a few slides here that I'll hit quickly, and I think it'll start to unpack a little bit of what you can expect to see from Delta since the pandemic has started, as well as walk you through a little bit of that travel journey. So we'll roll through this pretty quickly here. But Delta's dedication to cleanliness and safety really can be seen at every step along the customer travel journey. And with the establishment of our new global cleanliness division, which I'm part of, I lead the operations team for that, we are committed now more than ever to finding new ways to innovate both in our product and our processes. So what I tell you is there's really no silver bullet here. So when you think about the new Delta Care standard, it includes layers of protection across the journey. So that includes electrostatic spraying, hand sanitizing stations, requiring masks of our passengers, capping the load factors, keeping the middle seat open, onboard care kits, clean air leveraging HEPA filtration, safe distance markers, acrylic shields, testing employees. That's just to name a few. And I think we also realize we don't have all the answers. So that's why we have a strategic partner and strategic partners here to help us that include the likes of the Mayo Clinic and Lysol, Purell, and other partners in the travel space. So if you look at this from a customer perspective, we've got you covered. So offering you the commitment to flexibility you need during these times, whether that's how you use flight credits, eliminating change fees, or even extending loyalty status for when you're ready to fly again. These are all things that we've heard from our customers that we want to be able to provide. So when you look at the standard of safety, it's what we're committed to here at Delta, and also what you'll see from our global partners if your travel takes you international. So many of the items that we're going to talk about today, they're also going to be true of our partners internationally. So I did mention earlier our strategic partners. So if you think a little bit about our partnership, our partners and the partnership that we have, the leading practices that we have, we're sharing across all of these partners. And that could range anywhere from our hotel partners to our rental car companies. And the reason that's there is we firmly understand that our commitment to you as a traveler, it must encompass your entire journey from home to home, not just the flight. So if we think about this, let's move along to, let's just jump straight into the journey here, because I think that's what people want to understand is if you haven't flown recently and you're thinking of flying again, let's jump straight into what you can expect as you go through the journey. So we have a few slides here that are going to show you some graphics and some of the key changes that I'll highlight for you. I think Huntley had hit on a little bit of it, and that this will show you the perspective from a Delta travel ribbon. I can tell you firsthand that I've been traveling a good bit lately, all work related. It's been going to a lot of our various hubs to make sure that we have everything where we need in terms of a cleanliness standard. So I can also speak to this from a firsthand perspective. And I'll tell you that really the travel experience now is very pleasant. And we're also hearing the same feedback at an overwhelming level for the customers that are traveling with us today. So let's jump over to what the pre-trip looks like. Let's move forward one more slide here. So right here, if you take a look at that graphic, let's talk a little bit about the pre-trip. So if you're used to traveling with Delta, you're going to be receiving a lot more information on the pre-trip than you usually did before. And I think a lot of that there is we're going to give you more information, especially at this time of uncertainty. And we'd also encourage through the pre-trip that you ensure to check the local requirements, and most importantly, pack your mask. Huntley hit on it, but we are very keen on all of our passengers wearing a mask to fly on Delta. So moving along, if you look at when you're looking to depart, if you don't have the Fly Delta app already, I would highly recommend it. It's where you're going to get the latest information right at your fingertips. It's going to offer you the opportunity for a touchless journey as well, and we'll talk a little bit about that as we go through that through this journey here. But again, if you're familiar with the app, same type thing. You're going to see a few more messages than usual. So if you look there, you're going to see some push messages that are going to talk about confirmations, pre-flight emails, some items know before you go that are going to highlight travel restrictions or some things that you might need to complete. Huntley had talked a little bit about I went a few weeks ago into Kennedy, and you had to complete a health check prior to entering the New York airports. Things like that you're going to get pushed via the app. So if you move along and you look at some of the things that you might see on the day of, you're going to get some notifications that are going to tell you that the aircraft is being cleaned right now and when that's complete, and some other push type notifications in addition to the things that you might already be used to seeing from the Fly Delta app. So let's move over to check-in and the bag drop. So if you take a look at some of the things there that will highlight, first and foremost, you're going to see a lot of new visuals. You're going to see plexiglass shields. You're going to see decals that are promoting social distancing and markers spacing people out. You're going to see a lot more cleaning. One, there's a lot more cleaning going on when you're not around in the overnights and between shift change, but you're also going to see agents that are out cleaning, kiosk cleaning, ticket counter areas. So all of that there is going to be a little bit different than what maybe you've seen in the past. The other thing that I would mention there is as you start to, this will be the first place that you're going to start to interact with Delta employees. And I would also mention that Delta has one of the most robust employee testing programs in the country. We're doing testing on all of our employees to create baselines, and then also know that any employee that you interact with, whether that's at the airport or on the aircraft, they have been temperature screened prior to arriving at work. We also have a comprehensive healthcare app that all our employees are using as well. So please know that when you're interacting with any of our team members, that's some of the things that they're going through. You see here on this next slide some of the visuals. This gives you a picture of what that looks like. You see the plexiglass screen, you see some of the decals over to the right at some of these airports. And one thing that I'd mentioned, Huntley touched on it a little bit about the decline in the passenger volume. For the most part, you're going to be traveling through very large airports that are meant to handling a lot more passengers than what we're doing right now. So the ability for us to promote social distancing, it has really come rather easily because we have large facilities and spacing teams out and putting decals to make sure that occurs has really not been much of a challenge at a lot of the airports that you're going to travel through. So that's a little bit about the check-in. So let's jump over to the security checkpoint and some of our partnership with TSA. TSA, I think, has been really a strong partner that we've been able to work with, and this also includes the airports as well. And some of the key things that you're going to see there, very similar to what you see at the check-in. You're going to see people wearing masks. You're going to see alternating lanes, spacing. Electrostatic spraying is occurring in the evenings and in the mornings to clean the areas. You're going to see sanitization of the bins. So there's a lot that's happening at the checkpoints to ensure that you have a clean area, you have space, and you feel safe as you're going through there. If you look at the next picture, it shows the next slide. It just shows some of the things that you'll see. I'll call the attention to the plexiglass screen that you'll see as you go through the TSA checkpoint. Again, you're going to go face to face, for the ID check. And with that plexiglass screen, they will ask you to pull down your mask temporarily so they can check your ID. And again, going back to something like the Fly Delta app, that'll allow you a touchless experience where you can hover your boarding pass right above this and scan that without having to hand anything over to a TSA agent. So as we move along from there, we get into the gate and the boarding. You're going to see a lot of changes here. There's a lot going on this graphic. A lot of changes there. Again, starting with a lot of cleaning that's happening, electrostatic spraying that's occurring. You're going to see more cleaning from our agents as they're going around the gatehouse, the podium area, plexiglass shield, face masks that are going to be required. You're going to see spacing for the decals. All of that is occurring right there. What I would say is as you start to look at the boarding area, you're going to see decals on the bridge. And one of the big key changes that we've made is we board from back to front. And the idea behind that is it's going to minimize people passing you in your rows. So if you board from the back, by the time you get on the aircraft, people really shouldn't be passing you. You're going to see a more metered approach on the boarding bridges, even though there's spacing decals on the boarding bridges. I can tell you firsthand from traveling quite a bit lately, you're not going to see more than a few people on the boarding bridge. Long gone are the days where the entire bridge is packed with people. So it's a much more spaced out, methodical approach to how we're boarding. So those are some of the changes that you're going to see there. Just moving along, there's some of the live pictures. You'll see again, you'll see gate agents out there cleaning their podium areas, and then that's what some of the decals look like as you start to get onto the bridges. But again, typically you're not going to see many people on there. So let's talk a little bit as you get onto the plane. This is probably where you're gonna see some of the biggest differences. First and foremost, we are capping the load factors on all of our flights. This is something that we have heard from our customers, that they don't want to be seated right next to somebody. This is capping the load factors on our flight around 60%, and we're also leaving the middle seat open. We've received a lot of feedback from customers that they like that, and we're going to do whatever it takes to bring customers back safely to our airline. And so we have made the commitment now to keep the middle seat open into January of 2021. On the domestic flights, you're going to receive a pre-packed snack pack. This is to minimize interactions with flight attendants and others. You are going to be asked to wear your mask for the entire flight. That is for your safety and the safety and comfort of your fellow passengers. If you need to take a drink or eat some food, please, you can remove your mask, but then as soon as you're done, please put it back on. Our flight attendants will remind you to please put it back on. And then one of the other big changes that you might not see happening, but you will see the results when you board, that's the cleaning process. So let's talk about that for a little bit, what's going on the aircraft prior to you boarding. The enhanced deep cleaning that's now taking place between every flight, it's really a layered approach that includes a thorough electrostatic spraying along with a complete wipe down and manual cleaning of all the surfaces throughout the entire aircraft. So if you think about the electrostatic spray technology, it works similar in a manner to what you might be familiar with static electricity, created when you rub two surfaces together. The disinfecting solution is applied using the sprayer that adds the electrostatic charge to the droplets. And so within seconds, those positively charged droplets of disinfectant are attracted to all the nearby surfaces. And that will happen at the beginning part of the cleaning process. Following that process, our special cleaning crews are then going to detail every part of the plane. They're going to hit the in-flight entertainment screens, the seat belts, the window shades, any touch surfaces, the bins, tray tables, arm caps, etc. And what I described there, this happens between every single flight. We don't just spray in the evenings and do this in the evenings. This happens between every single flight. And then we have additional, more thorough programs that happen overnight. And then on top of that, we also have even more additional programs that happen at a 30-day interval. So when you think about all these layers of sanitization and cleanliness, this is the layers of protection that provide a deeper and more effective clean. Something else that you can see there on the screen, this talks a little bit about the HEPA filtration system. This is not necessarily new. This has been here on many of our aircraft for many years. I just don't think it's been widely understood. So when you really look at how the HEPA filtration system works on board an aircraft, you have air that's coming down from above, from the air vents right above you, and then some of the more general vents that might be up in the ceiling. And it'll flow down, and it will then be filtered out near your feet. And then that's going to go through a HEPA filtration system that's going to bring in fresh outside air as well as what's being recycled in the cabin. This process is happening every 2 to 5 minutes. And these HEPA filters are what you're going to see in hospital rooms, surgical suites. These are the exact same filtration systems and HEPA filters that our healthcare workers are currently using right now, that they depend on to protect them from coronavirus and other infectious diseases. So the air quality on board an aircraft is very, very clean. And these are the standards that we're seeing on board. So as you start to pull this whole package together and you look at talking about sitting in your space, between all these layers of cleanliness, air filtration, distancing, wearing masks, it's all of these layers that are pulling together to provide a safer environment for you to fly and know that you can have peace of mind when you come back to the airline if you haven't been traveling already. So lastly, let's touch on the baggage claim. Again, a lot of similar things here that you're going to see at baggage claim as what we've seen in check-in and also at the gate area, in terms of plexiglass shield if you're interacting with the Delta agent, hand sanitization areas. We're doing thorough cleanings and electrostatic spraying of these areas. And then again, distancing markers. Again, I go back to think about the airport infrastructure built for much, much larger passenger volumes. The ability for us to distance, even at a baggage claim, is coming relatively easy for us. So I know I went through this material quickly, but I will tell you that all of this is on delta.com if you want to see more detail, if you want to see videos, if you want to see infographics. But I would stress that really our number one priority has always been protecting our people and our customers. And we're dedicated to finding new ways to exceed the customer expectations. And that's not just for today, but that's really for the future as well. So I think that kind of sums it up in a nutshell there, Diana.
And the customer testimonials really say it all. So I'm so glad that you closed with those comments. So, you know, it's just exciting to hear the details. I really appreciate you sharing those details. You've almost given us a mini science lesson here today. But I just want to go on record saying I think back to front boarding is where it's at. And I think we should maintain that forever. So on the record,
we got it. And listen, there's some good that has come, I think, from this. There are a lot of items, whether it's the cleanliness, whether it's something like the back to front boarding. There are other things that are coming out of this pandemic that I think will be here to stay, and we're seeing really positive feedback from the customers. So you know, I appreciate you saying that the cleanliness one we're sold on. The planes are going to be clean from here on out, even once the pandemic's done. We'll take up the back to front boarding as well. So thanks for that, Diana.
Thank you so much. And I mean, great to hear about partnerships with Mayo Clinic and Lysol and Purell. Just wonderful details there. Thank you so, so much. And we are going to transition now to our next speaker. It is Mr. Marius Carstensen. He is the head of trade sales from Cathay Pacific Airways. And Cathay Pacific is the flag carrier of Hong Kong. Mr. Carstensen is responsible for managing and developing market and sales strategies for the airline here in New England. So thank you so much for being here. And if you would please share some of the details on how the airline has enhanced sanitation as well and safety protocols for your customers.
Yes, thank you, Diana. Glad to be here, and thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak to AAA members about what we Cathay Pacific are doing. And actually, just as a funny side note, it was very interesting when I just opened my mail last week, and believe it or not, I just received my AAA membership card, a loyal member since 1987. So I'm a big fan of AAA.
Thank you for that.
So just wanted to share some updates with you about our commitment to travelers' well-being. And as this slide shows, it starts with contactless check-in and boarding, all the way through to being on board and disembarking and our cabin crew. And the next slide goes into a little bit more detail of what that really means for the traveler. So contactless check-in and boarding. We are really striving to minimize contact. So we are offering the option to check in online at cathaypacific.com on your app, your mobile app, or through self-service facilities, kiosks that are located throughout airport terminals. We are also have installed some of those screens that Ramsey mentioned as well, those plastic screens at check-in counters, and trying to keep social distancing measures and standards at the airport. When you do check in, you have to actually provide a health declaration. We will also check your temperature at that point. And at some of our airports, we even have automatic and biometric gates at boarding, so that you don't even interact with a human being at the gate anymore. Everything is done through computers and electronics. In terms of waiting at the airport, for customers that have access to our lounges throughout our network, they can relax knowing that we look after their well-being. All passengers have been temperature checked. All passengers and staff have to wear face coverings. And we have also adjusted the meal service in our lounges to minimize contact. In terms of prioritizing you on board, we're taking measures to reduce contact and safeguard your health. And we also have a mandatory face covering requirement throughout the flight, just as Delta has it as well. All passengers, as I mentioned, are temperature checked. And wherever possible, we will block off seats to ensure social distancing even on board our aircraft. In terms of the clean travel environment, and I don't think I can add much more than what Ramsey has added throughout the cleaning and sanitization process and service flow on board our aircraft, but we do clean our aircraft also after every flight. We have regular end of service cleanings. We have 30-day cleanings just as Delta. So I think the airlines have done a really good job throughout the industry in addressing that. The HEPA filter, same as Delta, we have been employing those on our aircraft fleet for many years, and it removes 99.999% of airborne contaminants. And we recirculate the air and introduce new air into the cabin every 2 to 3 minutes. So it's very similar to the environment of a hospital operating room, and the traveler should feel very confident in knowing that we have taken every precautionary measure on board our aircraft. And then lastly, our cabin crew, we provide them with face masks, goggles, gloves, sanitizers. We have very strict layover guidelines. So if a crew is spending a night in a city away from home or from the hub, they are not allowed to have any outside contact with people. So we make sure that that they also practice social distancing and are careful about contact with outside parties. On the next slide, it talks about the new normal. So as already mentioned, we do require face coverings throughout the entire journey during check-in in our lounges, boarding on board the aircraft, and when you leave the aircraft and go at your final airport destination until you're maybe curbside. So that is the new normal. I want to speak a little bit about Hong Kong. Just recently, as of June 1st, Hong Kong did allow transit passengers again at the airport. And but there are some limitations or restrictions that passengers will need to follow. For one thing, if they have a journey through Hong Kong, the booking has to be, or the flights have to be in a single booking, so can't be under separate bookings. They need to meet the entry requirement of their final destination. They have to have their baggage checked all the way through to the final destination. They also need to have all of their boarding passes for all connecting flights to the final destination, and they would receive that at the airport where they start their journey. And then lastly, the connecting flight in Hong Kong has to be within 24 hours. It cannot be longer than 24 hours. As of today, transiting to mainland China is not possible in Hong Kong. And we've also discontinued all sea-to-air ferry services that connects Hong Kong with the Greater Bay Area. And as mentioned, those are suspended for now. We hope that those will be lifted in the near future. Now, on top of that, there are some restrictions to entering Hong Kong. And it's important to note that currently only Hong Kong nationals are allowed to enter Hong Kong. So unfortunately, American citizens without Hong Kong citizenship status are not able to enter Hong Kong. But we have many Hong Kong residents still living in the US, and there are a list of countries that they have instituted additional restrictions for passengers to enter Hong Kong. And those restrictions are they need to show a negative COVID test that has been taken within 72 hours before departure. It has to very clearly state that it was the nucleic acid sample test. It has to show it's negative or that nothing was found. It needs to they need to provide a government certificate endorsing the lab, and in the US it's the CLEAR certificate, and each lab will have that very easily. And they need to have a hotel booking at a hotel in Hong Kong for 14 days, just in case they need to quarantine when they arrive. Once they actually get to Hong Kong, the passengers will be tested again if they end their journey in Hong Kong, and they have to wait for the test results to be returned before they can leave the airport terminal. The link here gives information about these restrictions, and if there are travelers on this call that fit this criteria, I would encourage you to visit that link. It's by the Hong Kong government, and it's in English, and it does provide more detailed information of how you can get these documents and what is needed from travelers in the US. In addition, I want to speak a little bit about the measures that Hong Kong Airport has taken to safeguard the travelers' well-being. And so in Hong Kong as well, they do conduct temperature checks throughout the terminal. They do require travelers to wear masks at all times. They also have very thorough cleaning and sanitization efforts that they employ there. They have robots going around cleaning the area throughout the day. So there's increased sanitization. They have hand sanitizers widely available throughout the airport. They have signs and labels, informing about social distancing, telling people, to keep that distance from each other. They also have something called germ-resistant surfaces, so they have applied a antimicrobial coating across the passenger facilities, and so that helps prevent the spread of the germ. They also have mandatory health declarations, COVID-19 testing and quarantine for all arriving passengers, as I mentioned. And then they also have something that they're running a trial on right now, the last point, safeguarding staff. They have a full body disinfection channel that staff that actually work at the airport have to pass through before they go inside the terminal. So that's another step where they ensure that the employees will not bring any germs into the facility. Last point is I want to speak a little bit to the flexibility that we're providing to our travelers during this sort of challenging time period. Any tickets that are purchased right now until the end of October enjoy a fly worry-free convenience where we allow you 1 year of unlimited change. So if you purchase a ticket, we will allow you to make changes free of charge. In terms of our smaller business clients accounts, we have extended some of those expiring awards or rewards for another 12 months, as we have done with our loyalty program, Marco Polo Club. All the benefits have been extended for 12 months. So if there's anything that expired between May 2020 and April 2021, we will extend those benefits for up to a year. And then also passengers will have the flexibility of either requesting a refund for tickets that they weren't able to utilize, or keep a Cathay credit for future travel. And again, it provides our travelers with just more flexibility in planning their travel. And we just simply can't wait to fly with you all again soon. And thank you again, Diana, for this opportunity to present what Cathay is doing for the travelers.
Oh, Mari, thank you so much, and thank you for your incredibly detailed presentation. There was so much information in there that I'm sure a lot of our members will be able to utilize. I want to get to a couple of the questions that were written into us prior to our webinar today. And honestly, a lot of them pertain to food service, interestingly enough. So one of the questions asks about bringing their own food into the airport and if that is appropriate and acceptable because of changes in food service on the flights themselves. So either of you, if you'd like to take that question.
I'm happy to take that. Certainly, yes, you can bring food. And actually, as a matter of fact, we sort of recommend that you bring some snacks for sure. Cathay Pacific still does provide meal service on board our flights, on all of our flights. And but we have modified the meal service slightly, so that's to reduce the contact between the flight crew and the passengers. But if you're doing a layover, a transit in Hong Kong to wait for your connecting flight, not all airport services may be open or maybe reduced services. So we definitely encourage you to bring some food and snacks, especially also if you're traveling with small children, for example, right? Make sure that you pack something appropriate for them as well.
Wonderful. And I saw Delta has the snack packs that are distributed when you get on. What about beverages, though, and getting through TSA with liquids?
Well, there's still going to be restriction on moving liquids, through the checkpoint. I will say that as it relates to PPE, hand sanitizer, I think the TSA has made some notable exceptions about bringing hand sanitizer, through the checkpoint, so that's helpful. But travelers should check the TSA website before they fly. Certainly, no food restrictions moving through the checkpoint, except those foods that may have a consistency that create challenges when they go through the X-ray machine.
Yeah, and Diana, I would also mention on that. I think when you think about really the bottom of this, the pandemic and April timeframe, the concessions at the airports are really few and far between. If you look at what's happening right now, the lion's share of the concessions are back open again. So the ability to get whatever you need at the airport, it's easily accessible. No differently than pre-pandemic. So in addition to what you're going to get on board in the aircraft, for Delta International, food service is predominantly the same. And then again, you're going to be getting snack packs and foods on any of the domestic flights.
Wonderful. Great information to know. One of our members also asked about the check-in and boarding process. If it's changed, if they did happen to print their boarding pass rather than use the mobile app. And from your presentations, you can just see very intelligent ways of integrating technology into these processes now. But is there anything our members should be concerned about if they did go ahead and print a paper copy of that boarding pass?
So for Cathay Pacific, no, it does not matter. You can print out your boarding pass at home and still use that to actually board the aircraft. We encourage people to do online check-in as much as possible, but we realize not everybody will have necessarily access to online. So yes, printed boarding pass is perfectly fine. And as a matter of fact, if you check in at one of our counters, of course you'll be given a paper boarding pass. So it's perfectly fine.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah, and Diana, from a Delta perspective, very similar. No issues with a paper boarding pass. I just think when you look at the Fly Delta app, you're just going to be getting some additional information and push notifications that would give you some more information, but no issues with a paper boarding pass either.
Wonderful, thank you. And I'm going to pose a question to the three of you that we've asked several of our other panelists on other SmartDepart sessions. We want to get to know you as individuals a little bit, and I'm wondering, and we'll start with you, Mr. Lawrence, where are you most looking forward to traveling to once it's free and clear and you feel comfortable bringing your family?
I would say the Southeast United States first, to visit friends and family in Florida, and then obviously if I can travel during the winter, I'd like to go to someplace nice and warm. So pick a spot in the Caribbean or South America. Certainly looking forward to doing that. Would have loved to go to the UK this summer, but due to travel restrictions, that was not possible. But I think my first destination, which will happen in the winter, will be the Florida, and then second destination being the Caribbean.
Well, I think you've much deserved a warm, sunny vacation after all your hard work. Thank you. Ramsey, how about you?
So as I mentioned, I've been traveling a good bit for work. We do have a little beach trip planned with the family. This will be their first time traveling in October. But really, when travel resumes to normalcy, my favorite place to go is Europe. I'm a big fan of France, big fan of Switzerland, and that's where you're going to find me going as soon as some normalcy resumes here.
That's wonderful. How about you, Marius?
That's really an easy one. I can't wait to go back to Hong Kong. it is my favorite city in the whole wide world. Yeah, I remember the first time I went 5 years ago, and I was just blown away by the beauty of the city, the diversity. You know, everything is just available there. The people are so friendly. You know, the food is just amazing, and so many things to do and see. So I can't wait to go back, and hoping that that will happen by the end of the year.
Absolutely. We're all so anxious to get traveling again, but thank you all so much. Unfortunately, that's just about all we have time for today. But thank you so much for all the transparency and in your comments, all the great detail in your presentations. You know, this information always gives me greater peace of mind. I'm sure it does our members as well, and we're so anxious to travel again soon. So I want to encourage all the members that have joined us today, please feel free again to reach out to your AAA Travel Angels, right, and visit your local branch. You can always get a plethora of information too from our website, which is AAA.com/travel. We love hearing from you, but anything pertaining to the presentations of our expert panelists today, we're happy to field those questions and direct some questions back to them if needed. So thank you so much for joining, and everyone have a wonderful evening, and we hope we're all traveling again very, very soon. Take care, everybody. Thanks.